Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good, and we love talking about organizations supporting our veterans. We're honored to be joined by Dale Enderlin, Executive Director, and Morgan Sierra, Director of Operations with Operation Red Wings Foundation. How are you two doing?
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us, Jeremy.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
We have a lot to talk about in terms of your amazing work with retreats and supporting veterans and families and so much more. But Dale, let's start with some background. Give us a little bit when you talk about the mission, the purpose, a little bit of history. Go ahead and dive in.
Well, the foundation was started in February of 2010. During this past 13 years, we've served over 3,000 veterans, 300 retreats, and we're here to provide veterans a path to healing.
You have different retreats, different camps, and so talk about where you're based, talk about the different campsites.
So we're based in Huntsville, Texas. It's about 60 miles north of Houston. We have a facility here that we lease. It's an old kids camp. It's on 3,100 acre ranch. Great location. It's old, but it's a work in progress. And then we have another facility, beautiful facility in Fayetteville, North Carolina, outside of Fort Bragg.
And that's where you are, Morgan. And so go ahead, when you talk about the camps, give us a little bit of perspective because you yourself are a veteran. And so when you talk about the retreats and what this means for veterans, go ahead and share a little bit of your personal vantage point with this.
This entire organization is incredibly important to me. I got involved with the foundation while I was still on active duty. So I saw the benefit that veterans got by attending one of the retreats, and that's what ultimately led me to want to be involved. But veterans can truly come here, and active duty service members. It's not just for our veteran population. But if they've got any symptoms of post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury or even chronic pain, we don't want veterans to wait until they get a diagnosis or wait until the VA gives them a disability rating. It's when you first have the first onset of those symptoms, we can help so it doesn't get worse going down the road. And we're really happy to be able to incorporate a lot of tools at the retreats that aren't readily accessible for veterans. So we're doing therapeutic horsemanship, and we do trauma-informed yoga, which is very different from what I like to call Instagram yoga, which is real twisty and bendy. Ours is really more about healing and finding that mind-body connection and working with your symptoms. We do a wonderful thing called accelerated resolution therapy that allows veterans to really reframe their trauma and move beyond the triggers that are associated with it. So what you can do at these retreats in a very short amount of time has a very long-lasting effect on veterans.
Talk about putting the retreats together in terms of how many go through it at a given time, the length of time. Dive in a little deeper on how the retreats work.
Sure. So our retreats are 6 days in length. They always run Wednesday through Monday. So that way we're taking advantage of that weekend, or people aren't taking too much time away from work. But we fly our veterans in on a Wednesday. So no matter where they're located, we will get them to us and we'll get them back home on Monday. But it's very easy. They can go right to our website and click the register now button, sign up. Once they do that, our team reaches out to that veteran, offers them some dates. We do a quick intake to make sure we're the right fit for the veteran. We're not the right fit for everybody, and we understand that. But we make sure we're the right fit for them. And then once they're locked into a date, we send them their flight information. We send them the schedule. They know who they're going to be reaching out to, who's picking them up at the airport. And then we bring them here where they stay at our facility for those 6 days. And we bring all the tools under one roof. And that's what makes us kind of unique from other organizations. It's, everything's here. So they get to sample all the different tools and find out what works for their symptoms, because what works for one person doesn't work for another. So it's incredible that everything's here that they can really try.
Talk about the balance of the kind of the self-reflection, the self-healing, healing the invisible wounds. At the same time, too, being in a collaborative environment around those who understand the challenges and have gone through similar circumstances and can appreciate the struggles. Talk about kind of that balance of the individual versus the group healing.
So you you hit on something really important there, is having that understanding. So all of our retreats are led by a veteran team leader, and that's critical. Our clinicians do amazing work, but many of them are not veterans. They've all had experience in the veteran community, but until you've walked in those shoes, you never understand. So it's hard to have that relatability. So us having them led by a team leader creates an instant bond and connection that you can't find organically anywhere else. But veterans coming into this space and understanding that, or getting to the point where they can say, I'm ready to reach out and somebody help me, and having a healing space to make that a comfortable thing for them without it being a clinical, uncomfortable setting where people are saying, I understand you, I know what you've been through, yet you haven't. This is a place that is full of support, and we cry together, we laugh together, we pick on each other, because that's what veterans do, and we do it together. And it understanding first the need in an individual to reach out to an organization, and then having an organization that's truly going to support those needs, whether they're the good, the bad, or ugly, we got to address it all, and that it can happen here.
Before I come back to Morgan and ask her the same question, I'm curious on your end, Dale, when you talk about the retreats and some of the different experiences, give me maybe one or two that are favorite pieces of the equation for you. And they can be a specific experience or something, that tends to happen throughout each of the retreats in a moment in terms of like the personal bonding. But what's something that really stands out to you in terms of the magic of these retreats?
Well, that's a really simple one, because that actually occurred in North Carolina a few years ago. And I've been with the organization for 10 and a half years, but this particular moment, I was there with a board member, and he was observing for the first time. And we had a Vietnam veteran at the retreat, and he came out of ART therapy just beaming, big smile. And I remember Bill, our board member, said, well, hey, what's up with that? It was a good experience. He said, yes. He goes, I've been carrying something around with me for over 50 years, and now I feel like it's behind me. And he did the same thing. That was on a Friday. He did the same thing at his session on Saturday and Sunday. It just was an incredible experience for him, which makes it an incredible experience for me, especially at my age. Was right after my military. I didn't join the military, but I graduated high school after the Vietnam War, and to see a Vietnam veteran have that kind of experience here was just tops on my list.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me, my brother's serving in the Marines and having a lot of family members, they don't often talk about it unless they're around somebody else who either had a shared experience or served in the military where they can really open up. There's a shared bonding that takes place. And I think for family members, it is so hard because you want them to let go, but at the same time, they don't necessarily trust it and have that confidence. And so, Morgan, same question on your end, because you have a chance to see this play out. And obviously for you personally serving, talk about maybe where the magic is on your end as well in terms of what you get a chance to see.
So Dale's right. I have two Vietnam veterans that there's something about our Vietnam vets that just make your heart warm and just make you melt when they're here, because you see something they carried for so long shed away, and they literally leave as different people, and it's so heartwarming. But there's countless accelerated resolution therapy stories of people that come out and they're just like, that was literally mind-blowing. What was that voodoo? Like, it's so funny to hear them come out and just with the excitement that I finally got to get rid of something. But one of the things at the retreats that stand out so much to me, it's 100% unscripted. It's not part of our curriculum, if you will, like the information that we share. It's our fire pit. Every night we come together and we sit around a fire. It can be cold, it can be hot, but there's something about fire and sitting around it that makes people bond. And the rawness and realness, the tears that are shed, the laughs that happen, it's just where it all kind of comes together and falls apart. One of the things that we do there, we do little exercises around the fire pit to kind of get people talking. But one of the things is we'll give people a little sticky name tag, like you say, hello, my name is Bob, right? and they'll write a word or a feeling or something that has been labeled on them, like not something they feel themselves, but people have called them mean, all these different things that are associated to their trauma, and they're stuck with that label. And we peel that off, like we dig into it and we peel it off and we throw that little sticker, and it's a tangible thing that they can truly throw away. And in the meaning or in the moment, it's just a sticker. But you see when they leave, they're like, that's not who I am. And I'm telling you, it's just the rawness of what happens around the fire pit that so much goodness. It's awesome.
I love it. Well, and these are the heroes that we want to take care of, right? These are the individuals, the men and women who go and serve and protect our freedoms, and yet they, in many cases, experience horrific things. And so to be able to provide this as an outlet, these retreats for healing these invisible wounds, getting them back on the right trajectory mentally for their family, like it makes our communities better. It makes them as individuals better, their families, but our communities better. And I think there's a huge ripple effect in terms of what you're ultimately doing to be able to make a difference individually, but also too across our communities. So talk about how the community can help your efforts. I mean, Rusty Reed, the CEO of Higginbotham, he's the one that introduced us and said, hey, we've got to shine a bright light on the work they're doing. So talk about how companies, how individuals, how can we support your efforts and help be a part of the good you're doing?
So obviously we're serving a lot of veterans. And this year alone, we're going to have 53 retreats, and that's not free. As any other nonprofit, we are privately funded. We no government grants, and so we survive on donations. So supporting us by having an event in your area to raise money for us, what we call third-party events, or sponsoring, one of our Operation Red Wings events, or just donating money.
The fact that you can bring veterans, active military serving anywhere to your retreats, I think this is something, regardless of where you are in the world, you have an opportunity to play a role in what you're doing. And so, Morgan, what would you add to that?
What I would add is one of my favorite things that we have set up for people who want to support the organization is our ground support crew. It is a set it and forget it type of thing. So it's our monthly donor program, and you can afford $20 in your budget, or you can afford $200 in your budget, whatever that may be. You can set that, and it's an automatic donation that comes. And the support, I mean, it's really what keeps us alive. Like Dale said, we don't get those government grants, and we don't take any money from the VA or anywhere else. So it's what keeps these retreats free for veterans and their family members that can also come.
There's a huge demand because in 2011, we did 4 retreats. In 2023, we're doing 53. And we're just scratching the surface of the veterans that need help. So, obviously, the more money we get coming in, the more we can plan to help more veterans.
What's an average cost? And you can, I'll give you obviously the leeway. Is it, per veteran or per participant for the retreat, or per retreat? But when you talk about some of the financial numbers that we need to help underwrite, what does that look like on your end, Dale?
So it's about $2,000 per veteran. We've done a lot through the years to try to trim that cost, yet still provide top-notch help to the veteran. We've been as high as $3,500 per veteran, but we've really done a good job of trimming those costs. For a couple, it seems to be a little bit more expensive. It's about $5,000 a couple, and then depending upon how many kids they have when they come back for a family retreat, it's about $7,500 per family. Gotcha.
For each of you, give me one more thing that you wish everyone knew about Operation Red Wings Foundation.
For me, I wish everybody knew we were here. We've been around for 13 years. We're not new. We're on all the different social media channels. I want veterans and their family members to know that we're here and to tell people about it, because no matter how much we market and we say it, we always bump into a veteran that says, man, I know I need that, and I wish I could get it into their hands sooner. So for people to know that we exist, to know that we're free, and that veterans don't have to wait, to reach out and we will take care of them.
What I would add to that is to know that if the veteran commits to it and comes in with an open mind, it does work. We've seen it work hundreds of times. I mean, thousands of times. It does work. They have to want to have it work. And I would love for people that have a heart for veterans to, I wish they could experience and see that it works, because once you do, you're hooked. Believe me, I never thought I'd be here 10.5 years.
Well, and then that leads us to the last question, which is the easy one. Where do we go to learn more? Where do we go to get involved with Operation Red Wings Foundation?
orwfoundation.org.
And so obviously the initials for Operation Red Wings Foundation, orwfoundation.org. So Dale, Morgan, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was an honor and a privilege. Thank you.